Hey, what's going on, guys? So I just wanted to make a video reacting to the latest PlayStation news. So I figured I was gonna just read and react to the latest PlayStation blog post here by Herman Holst. It was a Herman Holst Q&A. What's next for PlayStation Studios? So this was Sid Schumann, Senior Director of SI Content Communications. He's like one of the head marketing figures for PlayStation. But let's get into this. So it's been just about 17 months since Herman Holst took the reins of PlayStation Studios, international network of world-class development studios that produce some of PlayStation's biggest hits, from Returnal and Astro's Playroom to The Last of Us Part 2, Dreams, Ratchet & Clank, Rift Apart, and much, much more. Over our jam-packed 20-minute discussion, Holst provided updates on a host of topics: studio development updates, thoughts on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 development, PlayStation Studios, visions for PC releases, and a whole lot more. So yeah, there's some PlayStation games coming to PC. Days Gone, Horizon went to PC, and reportedly Uncharted 4 may be coming to PC. So it is kind of interesting to see more PlayStation games migrating over to PC, and they're kind of trying to be like Xbox now, where they have some of their big exclusives go over to PC. I don't think PlayStation will ever release their games on PC the same day they release on console, but it is kind of interesting to see that happening. But all right, so then the first question that I guess Sid asked: do you see single-player narrative games as essential to PlayStation Studios' console experience? Herman: absolutely. Single-player narrative-driven games, that's our DNA. I agree. PlayStation Studios have made, in my mind, some of the most memorable narrative experiences available. I agree. We love making them, and we'll keep making them as long as gamers enjoy them. For me, the idea of sitting down on Friday night with a brand new world and great story to explore, that sounds pretty perfect, right? Yes. We also want to make sure that we're creating a variety of experiences for our audiences. Franchises, new IP, big games, smaller and more innovative games, single-player stories, and multiplayer. And, multiplayer, Sony has exclusive rights to, Deathloop, which is a Bethesda multiplayer IP, which is kind of interesting because Microsoft just bought Bethesda. But I guess Sony has a time exclusive with Deathloop. I don't know if I'll be checking out the game. Personally, I'm not a big multiplayer guy. And then, of course, we have Factions that's being worked on as a Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer game. So, and I'm sure there's going to be much, much more multiplayer games coming down the pipe here. But I'll be curious to see if Sony tries to dive deeper into multiplayer games, or if they'll let the bigger, third-party multiplayer games like Call of Duty and Fortnite and whatever, handle their multiplayer catalog, or be, you know what I mean. I don't know if they're going to have like a lot of exclusive multiplayer content, but maybe they will. But who says that multiplayer experience cannot have great stories, right? It's an interesting... That's an interesting quote right there. I wonder what he could mean by that. Does he mean like online co-op, like having more single-player games that also have maybe online co-op where you can experience a single-player story? I don't know. So then the next question: we've seen an announcement of Haven from Jade Raymond. I guess Jade Raymond, she used to work at Ubisoft back in the day, and I guess that she's credited for being one of the key figureheads of the original Assassin's Creed, or the first few Assassin's Creeds. So from Jade Raymond, let's start over. We've seen an announcement of Haven from Jade Raymond, as well as a bunch of industry veterans, and more recently Firewalk, which is also and also has some top names from the industry. How do you see partnerships like these fit into the larger PlayStation Studios vision? Herman: yeah, you don't know. These partnerships are very exciting. You could, I guess, make a distinction between development teams who are part of Sony, like Naughty Dog, Insomniac, Media Molecule, Sucker Punch, and so on. And then development teams who are working with us like partners. Haven, Firework, but also teams we worked with over years, like Kojima Productions from Software. To me, in many ways, there really is no difference. They're all PlayStation studios. We are, at the end of the day, a creator-led organization, which to me means that we want to find the best possible development studios in the world and help them passionately pursue their ideas. To me, it's important that PlayStation Studios is a place that allows creators to join us and do the best work of their career. That's really what I'm after. Yep, so, I mean, PlayStation Studios is growing. They've added Haven and Firewalk. Really don't know what's going to be, what they're going to be working on. I think Firewalk is going to be a multiplayer studio. Haven, I assume, it'll make some sort of single player game, but we'll have to see on that one. Okay, so let's go to the next question here. So, are you able to give us a snapshot of the total number of titles that PlayStation Studios are currently developing for PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5? Herman, well, we have a lot going on right now. PlayStation Studios have more than 25 titles in development. Almost half of these are new IP. The other half, they're titles that are set in franchises that PlayStation fans already know and love. So it's quite a lot. Yep, and I expect us to see a Ghost of Tsushima 2, and I would expect we'll see a new God of War. We know we're going to see a new, or we know we're going to see a new God of War, and I expect we'll see another Uncharted, and Last of Us Part 3. I don't think Naughty Dog is working on The Last of Us Part 3 right now. I think they have a lot on their hands, and honestly, I think they may be working on a new IP. I think Naughty Dog may be one of the few studios working on a new IP. And next question: how important is the new IP for PlayStation Studios? New IP is incredibly important to us. New IP is the lifeblood of gaming, but new IP is just one aspect of our strategy. Ultimately, I want PlayStation Studios to be fiercely daring, to take risk. I want us to continue to embrace the legacy of PlayStation, pushing the boundaries of gaming, keep making games that matter, games that probably wouldn't have been made anywhere else. And Ben Studios working on a very exciting new IP that they're very, very passionate about. They're building on the deep open world systems that they developed with Days Gone. So I'm really happy for Ben Studio. And there's been a report that Ben Studio pitched Sony Days Gone 2, but Sony didn't greenlight it, and now Ben is just working on new IP. I enjoyed Days Gone for what it was. I think it is an underrated game, and it kind of has like this cult following. Honestly, I'm kind of happy they're working on a new IP because I thought Days Gone felt too much like The Walking Dead, and I used to enjoy The Walking Dead, but I don't know. I thought it was a good game, but I don't think it was like anything unique or special. I thought it was like a really campy game. It had fun gameplay, and the story was so-so. That's what I'll say about Days Gone. But yeah, no, I'll be excited to see what Ben does, and hopefully they can do something better than they did with Days Gone. Okay, so next question here. How have the teams at PlayStation Studios have been able to cope and adapt with these big challenges over the last year? Herman, perhaps the biggest challenge has been when we need specialist locations. Of course, they're referring to COVID and how that's, I'm sure that's made the whole development scene, it's made it more difficult to make their games, and I'm sure it's going to delay a lot of games. But anyway, perhaps the biggest challenge has been when we need specialist locations, often physical locations, primarily performance capture, audio work. We come up with some really clever solutions to some of this. we build tiny recording studios in people's houses. But when you're doing performance captures for a lot of cinematics with multiple actors, that's not so simple to solve. So you got a choice. You could do it later in the schedule, which could cause you problems, or you could risk the final quality by doing it in a different way. But I can tell you, we're not going to risk the quality. We want to ship extremely high quality games, finished games, and we have to do that obviously without pushing our teams to the breaking point. So we have currently two very big, very narrative-driven games in development: Horizon Forbidden West and the next God of War. And for both of those, they're frankly affected by the access to performance capture and talent. For Horizon, we think we are on track to release this holiday season, but this isn't quite certain yet, and we're working as hard as we can to confirm that to you as soon as we can. And for God of War, the project started a little later, so we made the decision to push the game out to next year to ensure that Santa Monica Studio can deliver the amazing God of War game that we all want to play. With these things, something's got to give. It cannot be the quality of our titles, and it surely won't be the health or the well-being of our amazing teams. So, yeah, I mean, that's really the headline from this Q&A, those few paragraphs right there. And, you know, God of War being delayed to 2022, I don't think anyone, when we saw the reveal trailer for God of War Ragnarok last year, and it said the release coming in 2021, I don't think anyone was like, oh yeah, that game's totally gonna come out next year. I mean, I knew from the second I saw that, I was like, okay, that's gonna be delayed to 2022. So this is not really that surprising. And as far as Horizon coming out this year, I think it would hit this year if it wasn't for the pandemic. I think Sony probably wants that game to come out this year because potentially, you know, Microsoft with the Xbox could be having the new Halo come out in the fall, and with Nintendo, it sounds like they're going to be having a new version of the Switch. I think it's going to. I mean, it's rumored to be called a Nintendo Switch Pro, but I don't know what it's going to be called. And I don't know if Breath of the Wild 2 has been confirmed for this year yet, but I thought I heard rumors that it may be coming out in the fall as well. So I think Sony is hoping they can have Horizon out for the fall so they can compete against Nintendo and Xbox with their big exclusives. But, you know, I think Horizon is going to ultimately be delayed to 2022. I think they're hoping that it can come out this year, but I think they don't want to confirm that it's going to be delayed until they're absolutely certain. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to Horizon. I enjoyed the trailer. I made a video reacting to the trailer about a week ago, so if you want to check it out, I think I'll probably leave the link in the description. But no, you never want to rush a game. You take your time, try to make it the best game you can, and you know something. Maybe CD Projekt Red could learn from Sony's strategy. People give Sony a lot of flack for how much they delay their first party games, but you know most of the time they deliver in quality. So, I mean, if they're gonna deliver in quality, no one's gonna care if they constantly delay them ahead of time. People just need to be patient, you know. I mean, Uncharted 4 was delayed forever. The Last of Us Part 2 was delayed. I think even the original God of War was delayed a few times. So, I mean, delaying a game is, yeah, when you're waiting for it and you're anticipating it, it is disappointing. But you got to understand, like, most of the time when a game is delayed, that is good for everyone. It's good for the developer. It's good for the player. I just think it's a win-win situation in most situations. So... but yeah, I think Horizon will be coming out next year. I don't think it'll hit this year, but I'm looking forward to it whenever it comes out. Okay, so How does PS4 factor into PlayStation Studios' development vision? Is it still a focus internally for future game development? Herman, it very much is. You can build a community of over 110 million PS4 owners and then just walk away from it, right? I think that'd be bad business for fans of PS4 and frankly not very good business. Where it makes sense to develop a title for both PS4 and PS5 for Horizon Forbidden West, the next God of War, GT7, Gran Turismo 7, we'll continue looking at that. And if PS4 owners want to play that game, and then they can, if they want to go on and play the PS5 version, that game will be there for them. Yep, so this is kind of been one of the controversial parts of this article here. I think a lot of people are kind of disappointed that the next God of War is going to be a cross-gen title. It's going to be on PS4 and PS5. We already knew about Horizon, but God of War was kind of unclear. Gran Turismo 7, frankly, I don't really care because I'm not really a racing fan. I mean, I enjoy more arcadey racers, but whatever, to each their own, or whatever the saying goes. But yeah, no, I mean, God of War being on PS4 and PS5, I still look forward to the next God of War. I mean, the original God of War on PS4 is one of my top 5 video games of all time. And I expect this game to be very good. I expect it to be another great game, another masterpiece from Sony Santa Monica there. I saw the trailer for Horizon Forbidden West. That's a cross-gen game, and the game looked amazing. I mean, the graphics from that trailer, if they can deliver on that, it's gonna be one of the best looking video games I've ever seen. And you got Ratchet and Clank. Well, maybe that's a poor example because that's only on the PS5. But that's the graphics in that game are amazing too. So it's like Sony's developers really know how to make graphically beautiful games. So I don't know. Maybe from a gameplay perspective, people are worried that the PS4 might hold these games back, but I don't think it will. I mean, the architecture in the PS4 and the PS5, it's kind of similar architecture, and I would imagine it's a lot easier to make a cross-gen game for the PS4, the PS5, than it would be for PS3 to PS4, which, PS3 used different architecture than PS4. The PS3 used a cell processor. I'm not saying I'm an expert on this stuff, but I would imagine it's a heck of a lot easier to make a cross-gen game with the PS4 to PS5. So we'll have to wait and see on that. I think it'll be fine. Spider-Man Miles Morales, was a cross-gen game, and I played that on PS5. That was one of the best looking games I've ever seen, and it performed very well. I think you could do. I don't know if you could do 4K 60 frames, or you could do maybe 1440p at 60 frames. I don't quite remember, but I remember that game just from how many frames per second it could do and the resolution and how good it looked. I don't feel like it was really held back by the PS4. But no, that's my opinion. And I have one more sentence to read here. That being said, it's also very important to have showpieces for PS5, hence the development of Returnal and Ratchet, which I haven't played Returnal, frankly. I'm not really interested in it. Roguelikes, I haven't played many, but they're not really my cup of tea. Ratchet, I'm definitely going to play. It's coming out June 11th. But let me shut up and read this. Hence the development of Returnal and Ratchet that are exclusive to PS5. So, yep, I mean, Sony, they're going to have PS5 only games. It's just, we're early in the PS5 life cycle. I can understand why they don't want to abandon PS4. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that, they can't afford to just throw down $500 on a PS5 or more, since PS5s are so hard to find and you have to pay like a king's ransom to buy them on eBay, which I did, which I don't encourage. I'm kind of ashamed that I did that, but anyway, I think a lot of people will stick to PS4 for a number of years, and then they'll probably wait for the cheaper, maybe slim model to come out. I think a lot of people like to do that. So I can understand why Sony doesn't want to completely abandon the PS4 yet. I think they'll continue to support it probably for the next 4 to 5 years at least. Um, so yeah, and then let's get over to the next question here. How does PC fit into the worldview of PlayStation Studios moving forward? Herman, we're still early on in our planning for PC, and Horizon Zero Dawn has been very successful. I think it shows there's an appetite from gamers outside the PlayStation ecosystem to experience the amazing portfolio of games that PlayStation fans have enjoyed for years. But I want to emphasize that PlayStation will remain the best place to play. Our PlayStation Studio. Let me reread that. But I want to emphasize that the PlayStation will remain the best place to play our PlayStation Studio titles at launch. Okay, it's kind of a mouthful. But we do value PC gamers and will continue to look at the right times to launch each game. Bend Studio just released a PC version of Days Gone on May 18th. So that's about 2 years after the PS4 release. And I hope that a new set of fans can and will enjoy that title. And that's the goal. And we want to reach new gamers who haven't yet experienced the great stories, characters, and worlds that we built. Releasing games on PC will not come over at the expense of building an exciting lineup of great console games. Yeah, so, I mean, it sounds like PlayStation, they just want to have, they want an extra revenue stream for these games, you know. I mean, does it hurt PlayStation to release their games on other platforms? I definitely don't think it does. I mean, from a business perspective, like releasing, Days Gone 2 years after it released on PS4, I mean, how much is it really selling now? I don't know, but it probably adds to the sales, and I'm sure Sony is making a lot more money on Days Gone now that they released it on PC than if they just would have kept it on PS4. And same with Horizon, that came out in 2017. I think they released it on PC last year, I want to say, or 2019. So, I mean, most game sales are within the first 6 months that it comes out, sometimes, actually, a lot of times it's within like the first 2 weeks. I mean, what did, I think The Last of Us Part 2, well, I mean, maybe that's a poor example because that's arguably Sony's biggest franchise, but I think that sold 4 million in the first weekend. And I think Spider-Man sold, it sold something absurd, like, it might have sold like over 10 million copies with, not in its first weekend, but it like, I want to say with like in its first 6 months, it sold something close to that, or maybe like high, like 8 million, 8 to 10 million, somewhere around that. But yeah, no, I mean, I think releasing these on PC is smart from a business perspective, as it adds more revenue to these games and kind of breathes new life into them. Okay, so another topic that's been out recently is Japan. Do you feel that from PlayStation Studio perspective that Japan is still a big focus for development, or are you maybe considering a shift to a more Western focus for game development? Herman, oh no, I want to be very clear that Japanese games and Japanese talent remain extremely important to PlayStation Studios and Sony Interactive Entertainment. Japan and Asia are strongly associated with our legacy. The success of Sony, the PlayStation brand, and many of our iconic PlayStation franchises were actually born in that region. I remember watching the PlayStation 5 showcase event from last year. It struck me how much Japanese influence there was in the games that we showed, and what a key part of PlayStation's DNA that is. It's one of the things that makes PlayStation different and unique in my mind. And I think Sony's been kind of getting a lot of flack lately because they shut down Was it a Japan studio, which is like one of the oldest Sony exclusive PlayStation studios. Well, they kind of downsized it, and I think they rebranded it to a different name. Um, but Sony's a Japanese company, so I mean their origin really isn't Japanese game development, and I mean frankly, that's the origin of video games. It's Japan. I mean Nintendo is from Japan. Sony is a Japanese company. You know, when I was a kid, I would say uh, there was a larger, or games from Japan sold more than games from the West, and it seems like now it's the opposite, where games released in America or outside of Japan, or it's the West is bigger now in terms of development scene. Not to say there isn't still big Japanese games that release, but definitely for me, the majority of games I play and enjoy now are Western developed games. But anyway, let's keep reading here. I remember watching. Oh, no, actually, next paragraph. I know the potential from high quality games from Japan and Asia, and some of the best development talent in the world is found there. They have that. They have that history of innovation, of craftsmanship and skill, that pride and team spirit. We very much want to continue those traditions. Polyphony Digital is such an important part of the PlayStation family. The makers behind Gran Turismo making the best driving simulation games in the world. We're building Team Asobi in Tokyo, a world-class studio that are developing a franchise for all ages with global appeal. Such a creative team. And alongside Asobi, we will continue to maintain and build partnerships through our external development team. So I'm really excited about the future of PlayStation games from Japan and Asia, and I'm grateful for the interest and passionate support for our Japanese teams. Okay, yeah, and then there's just one more little thing here. Great to know, and perhaps this is a redundant question, but it seems like maybe we haven't seen the last of Astrobot Hermit. I hope not. I love that guy, and Astro's Playroom. If you have a PS5, that is a must-play game. I actually got the platinum for that game. That was the first game I played on PS5 too. I never had played any of the previous Astro games. I know previously they were they sort of are big tech demos, but it sounds like, or it seems like Sony is going to try to do more with Astro and make it a franchise. And Astro's Playroom did some really cool things with the DualSense controller, and anyone that buys a PS5, I recommend playing it. I think it's a must-play game. But yeah, this is just me reading and reacting to this article here. If you guys enjoyed this, I appreciate if you leave a like on this video. It would help out a lot. But I think I may try to react more to gaming news. And yeah, I have nothing else to say. Hope you guys have a good day. I'll see you in the next video.